2%. That is how much of this family's money is now in donuts. 7 years ago, the same family owned a great deal of the American breakfast. On the 24th of March, 2019, the German paper Bild and Sonntag published the contents of a document it had obtained. It was an interim report, delivered that January by Paul Larker, a business historian at Ludwig-Maximilian University in Munich. The family had commissioned him to examine the wartime history of their company, the chemical works Joabenke in Ludwigshafen. The report was not published. It was acquired. What it contained. Albert R. Wyman Sr. and Albert R. Wyman Jr. were both Nazi supporters. Sr. joined the NSDAP in 1931 and was funding the SS by 1933. By 1943, the firm was working roughly 175 forced laborers, Russian civilians and French prisoners of war, about a third of its total workforce. Forced labor was used not only in the plant, but at the family's own house. Women from the occupied East were beaten and raped at the Ludwigshafen site. Albert Jr. complained to the mayor that the French prisoners were not working hard enough. The family confirmed it the next day. Their spokesman was Peter Harf, who had spent 4 decades building the family's money into an investment house called JAB. Quote, "It is all correct. R. Wyman Sr. and R. Wyman Jr. were guilty. The 2 men have passed away, but they actually belonged in prison." End quote. American newspapers ran it because of what the family owned by 2019. Pizzas. Stumptown. Intelligentsia. Careibu. Keurig. Krispy Kreme. Pioneira. Einstein Bros. Pret-a-manger. The headline wrote itself, and it was true. The money behind a great deal of the American breakfast had been enlarged by forced labor. 7 years on, that headline no longer survives a fact check. Not because the history changed, but because the portfolio did. On the 1st of April, 2026, Keurig Dr. Pepper completed its acquisition of JDE Pizzas, the Dutch company that held Pizzas, Stumptown and Intelligentsia. The price was €31.85 a share in cash. 96.22% of the shares were tendered, 466,712,278 of them, for roughly €14.86 billion. Acorn Holdings BV, the JAB entity that controlled 69% of the voting rights, had agreed to tender. JDE Pizzas last traded on Euronext on the 29th of April, 2026, and was delisted the next day. JAB walked away with about $8.5 billion in net cash, and what it described as a $6 billion investment gain. That left one coffee position, a residual stake in Keurig Dr. Pepper itself, bought back when a JAB-led group took Keurig Green Mountain private at $92 a share in 2016. On the 11th of June, 2026, JAB sold the last of it. Roughly 59.1 million shares, about 4.3%. The coffee is gone. So, for the avoidance of doubt, is Dr. Pepper. Here is what a rating agency saw when it looked at JAB on the 18th of June, 2026, after both sales cleared. Insurance, 24%. Pet care, 23%. Pet insurance, 22%. Fast casual, that is Pret and Pioneira, 21%. Beauty, 8%. Donuts, 2%. Loan to value fell from about 23% to somewhere between 1 and 2% on a year-end 2025 pro forma basis, against a self-imposed ceiling of 15%. The share of the portfolio held in listed assets dropped to around 10%, which S&P expected to climb back toward 40% within 18 to 24 months. JAB's own 2025 annual report, written earlier, put the listed share at 44. Both are correct for their date. That is how fast this changed. On the 29th of June, 2026, the group launched Doughnut Pet Care, folding Independence Pet Holdings into Pinnacle Pet Group. 6 million insured pets, 10 markets, more than 4,000 staff. Chief Executive Dirk Beekman. The launch press release does not contain the word JAB. One more brand had already been cut in half. JAB bought Carei in December 2012 at $16 a share, about $340 million, roughly a 30% premium. Carei was born in Minneapolis in 1992. Then, on the 26th of March, 2024, it completed a long-term consumer goods licensing agreement with JDE Pizzas. The Minnesota roasting operation, the office coffee business, and the food service contracts went to JDE Pizzas. The more than 800 cafes stayed. 2 years later, JDE Pizzas went to Keurig Dr. Pepper. So buy a latte at a Carei cafe in Minneapolis, and the money runs to a family holding company in Luxembourg. Walk to a supermarket the same afternoon. Buy a bag of Carei beans, and the money runs to a listed company in Texas. The logo is identical. The 6 L's have split down the middle of a single brand. This publication asks the same 6 questions of every brand. Krispy Kreme answers them 6 different ways. Born in 1937 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Incorporated in Delaware, listed on the NASDAQ. Headquartered in Charlotte, not Winston-Salem. Owned as of the 30th of April, 2026, 43.03% by JAB Indulgence BV. Of the Netherlands, 74,190,990 shares. The second largest holder is BNP Paribas at 8.88%. Its own hub donut plants and a fresh delivery network in more than 40 countries. And the payroll, direct subsidiaries in the United States, Britain and Australia, and in Korea, Japan and elsewhere, local franchisees pay the staff. In Korea, the answer is different again. Buy a Krispy Kreme donut in Korea and the money goes to Ludwigshafen. Ludwigshafen opens the stores, pays the staff and fries the donuts. There is no equity link to the American parent. What crosses to Luxembourg is the brand royalty and nothing else. Krispy Kreme entered Korea in 2004. The first store opened in Sinchon on the 16th of December that year, the first in Asia, and it closed in March 2017. The business was split into Lot KKD on the last day of 2009 and merged into Lateri on the 1st of July, 2010. There is no official figure for how many stores there are now. JAB Beach Incorporated took the company private on the 9th of May, 2016, at $21 a share, an equity value of about $1.35 billion. It came back to the NASDAQ on the 1st of July, 2021, priced the night before at $17 for 29,411,765 shares, roughly $500 million. On the 7th of August, 2026, the stock closed at $3.335, a market capitalization of $576.1 million. That is down 80.4% from the offer price, and that figure is my own calculation. At that price, the 43.03% stake is worth about $247.4 million, which is also my calculation. Resist the arithmetic that suggests itself. The 2016 figure bought 100% of the company. What remains is a minority stake, after an initial public offering, after debt raised against the business, and after the sale of Insomnia cookies. Fiscal 2025 was ugly on its own terms. Net revenue of $1,522.6 million, down 8.6%. A net loss of $523.8 million, against $3.8 million of net income the year before. Global points of access down 13.5% to 15,194. Net leverage 6.7 times. The proximate cause is on the record, and it is not history. On the 24th of June, 2025, Krispy Kreme filed an 8-K terminating its business relationship agreement with McDonald's USA, effective the 2nd of July. Quote, "After careful consideration, the companies have jointly decided to end their partnership." End quote. Roughly 1,900 McDonald's stores came out in the third quarter. Second quarter results, reported on the 6th of August, 2026, showed revenue down another 12.8% to $331 million, but the net loss cut to $19.8 million and leverage down to 5.4 times. Nobody has produced evidence that the 2019 revelation cost this company $1 of revenue. The collapse belongs to McDonald's and to closed stores. Krispy Kreme Schedule 13D lists 7 co-filers. Read in order, they are a ladder. Agnenet in the C and Lucreska SC in Luxembourg. Joabenke BV. In the Netherlands. JAB Holding Company SARL. In Luxembourg. JAB Investments SARL. JAB Holdings BV. And at the bottom, JAB Indulgence BV holding 43.03% of an American donut company. Item 2 of that filing, the section headed Identity and Background, never names a natural person as the ultimate beneficial owner. It describes the group only as, quote, a Luxembourg-based and privately held group focused on long-term investments. End quote. Schedule lists directors and officers of Agneet SC and Lucreska SE. Peter Harf, Joachim Cruz, Martin Haas and others as officers, not as owners. Both companies are registered at the same address as JAB itself, 4 Rue Jean Monnet, Luxembourg. S&P's June 2026 report states that the two hold about 90% of the company, the balance sitting with management and other investors. Follow the American disclosure regime as far as it goes, and what you arrive at is not a person. It is a door. And the public documents disagree with each other about the top of the ladder. The securities filings of 2021 and 2026 call it Joabenke BVA Dutch entity. JAB's own 2025 annual report calls the main shareholder Joabenke SARLA Luxembourg 1. The Alfred Landecker Foundation uses the Dutch form. A Dutch BV and a Luxembourg SARL are different legal persons. A migration between them is plausible, and this publication could not confirm one in the registries. What can be reported is the discrepancy itself. Meanwhile, the operating scale. Consolidated assets of $71.94 billion at the end of 2025, run, according to the annual report, by a team of more than 50 investment professionals across 6 offices. Peter Harf retired on the 28th of April, 2025, after more than 4 decades, replaced by Joachim Cruz and Frank Engelin as co-chief executives. He remains an investor in JAB and chairs the Alfred Landecker Foundation. Krispy Kreme's board is chaired by Patricia Capel, a senior partner at JAB. Under an investor rights agreement struck at the 2021 offering, the company consults with JAB and gives good faith consideration to JAB's views on who sits on that board. In 2025, JAB paid Krispy Kreme $1.6 million in short swing profit disgorgement under Section 16. A small line item and the plainest available proof of who is inside the tent. In July 1937, Albert R. Wyman Jr. wrote to Heinrich Himmler, quote, "We are a purely Aryan family business that is over 100 years old. The owners are unconditional followers of the race theory." End quote. 3 numbers circulate about the forced labor, and they are not interchangeable. 175 is a headcount for 1943, about a third of the workforce at that moment. 200 is a headcount for the spring of 1942 at the Bild plant, cited by the Claims Conference, which also described the 2 Rymans as, quote, vocal anti-Semites and Nazi supporters. End quote. 870 is not a headcount at all. It is the number of individual forced laborers whose names the Alfred Landecker Foundation says have been identified across the whole period. The foundation also records that the laborers worked, quote, under sometimes life-threatening conditions, and that some of them died in accidents. End quote. The money that followed. 10 million euros, announced by Harf in March 2019. 5 million euros to the Claims Conference, paid 2 million in 2020, 2 million in 2021, and 1 million in 2022. And a commitment of €250 million over 10 years to the renamed Alfred Landecker Foundation, funded by UABENKER BV. The euro figures are the originals. Some English language coverage converted them to dollars. The conversions are not the record. Alfred Landecker was Jewish. In 1942, he was deported to the Izbica ghetto. What happened to him after that is not on the public record. His daughter Emily Landecker, born 1922, died 2017, took a job at BENKER in 1941, at 19, after her father was taken. She had 3 children by Albert R. Wyman Jr. Albert Jr. adopted 9 people. On his death in 1984, each inherited 11.1% of UABENKER. 5 later sold. 4 remain. Renate R. Wyman Haas, born the 8th of October, 1951, and Wolfgang R. Wyman are both children of Emily Landecker and Albert Jr., adopted in 1965 because they were born outside marriage and needed the legal standing. Stefan and Matthias R. Wyman Anderson are sons of Albert Jr.'s nephew, Otto Anderson, adopted in 1967. So it is only half true that the R. Wyman name was handed to strangers. Emily Landecker's 3rd child, Andrea R. Wyman Sardelli, sold out in 2003 and lives in Hanover, New Hampshire. Which means that 2 of the 4 people who own this fortune are the grandchildren of a man deported in 1942 and the children of the man who used the forced labor. Wolfgang R. Wyman wrote of his mother by email to the Irish Times. Quote, "She was living amidst that horrible scenery inside our company." End quote. His nephew Martin R. Wyman, then 30, put the 3rd generation's position more bluntly. Hearing and reading about the atrocities at BENKER that his grandfather approved, he said, made him feel sick. E.R. Kerr's finished study appeared on the 26th of July, 2023, from Wallstein Verlag, at 512 pages. It is not the 2019 interim report, according to German language coverage of the book, and this publication has not read the original. It goes past the 2019 admissions. The firm leaned Nazi before 1933 and was later designated a model National Socialist enterprise. The workforce grew from 181 in 1933 to 650 in wartime. The Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung called the book thorough and factual and described the family's earlier handling of all this as, quote, as forward-leaning as it was downright naive. End quote. The series has already written about another secretive German family that owns something Americans think of as American. The temptation to file the R. Wymans beside the Albrechts of Trader Joe's is strong, and it should be refused, in both directions. What genuinely rhymes is the shape: German family wealth, American brands, extreme privacy, founders who almost never spoke in public, inheritance routed through foundations and holding entities, and American consumers who did not much care. What does not rhyme is the history. Against the R. Wymans there is a documented record. Against the Albrechts, Carl and Theo were conscripted soldiers. The family business was one small grocer's shop in Essen, and this publication found no primary evidence of party membership or forced labor, nor an enterprise of a size that could have used it. Putting the 2 families in one sentence would smear one and dilute the other. And the difference that governs everything else: the Albrechts have not sold Trader Joe's in 47 years. J.A.B. bought and sold for 14. Now the other side, in its own terms. We know what we know about the R. Wymans because the R. Wymans paid a historian to find it, and let him publish 512 pages. No comparable commission by the Albrecht family is on the record. The dirtier fortune has the cleaner archive. The family confirmed the report within a day, called its own dead guilty, and paid. Do not end there, though. The commission dates from 2014 or 2016. The foundation says 2016. The Irish Times reported 2014. And the disclosure came after Bild obtained the interim report. Whether the family would have published without the leak cannot be established from the record. This is a brand where something much heavier than nationality came out, was confirmed by the owners within 24 hours, and stopped being used inside a week. The family is still there. The coffee is not. What they sell you now is insurance against your dog getting sick.